Hi everyone and welcome back to another video. This time last year, at least in January last year, yeah, that's how it works, I did a video talking about what was on my NetGalley shelf. I just really wanted to do another one this year, mainly so that I could see which of those books that I spoke about I had actually read, but also so that I could share with you some of the new books that I have requested. In that video I spoke about 7 books, and I think I had read some of them at the time when I already spoke about them, but since then so that's why I'm confused. I can't be bothered to rewatch the whole video again, but I have read The Christie Affair, I read Yankee, Where Is Your Husband? Yep, I definitely had read that by the time I put that video up, and I mentioned it in that video. I have read In Every Mirror She Is Black, I've read Valhalla, but I'd already mentioned that in that video. And then I think I had read Murder, the biography by Kate Morgan as well. So out of those 7, I had read 5, I believe that is. Which is pretty good going. So the 2 books that I've not read is The Howl by Years the Daily Ward, which is such a shame because I did re-watch that video and I loved the sound of that book. I still love the sound of it. I just don't know why I haven't picked it up. I just haven't really been gravitating towards my Kindle a lot in the past year. It's only when I've been like, oh, I want to buy a certain book and I'm like, I don't want to pay paperback prices, and I've been like, I'll just get the Kindle version. So that's why I think that's part of it, and I've obviously just learned about it. And then the other one is Conversations on Love, which is a collection of essays about love. In my defence, I did try and start this book last year in May. Yeah, I believe, because I was in the airport in Ghana. But it just wasn't working out for me, so I put it to one side. So those are still on the to be read list, but in regards to other books that I have requested, like I said in that video as well, I think I said that I wanted to reduce the number of books that I requested just because I just found that I really wasn't writing reviews anymore and wanting to not even wanting to give feedback. I just couldn't be asked. Like once I read the book I was just like, okay, I'm done. But obviously the whole point of it is you get the book and you give feedback and you leave your reviews and stuff like that. I feel like in total, and I'm really sorry if you can hear the washing machine, I requested 6 books off NetGalley last year, and I have already read 2 of them. I read 2 of them within the year. Apologies, so I thought it was 6 books, but it's actually 5, because I was going to request 2 of books that I saw. So there were 2 books. There was one called Someday Maybe, and it is about a British Nigerian woman. And then there was another one which was about a British Ghanaian woman. And I was like, I'm going to request one, buy the other, so that I just don't have to write 2 reviews. Great. So I requested Someday Maybe, and Someday Maybe is the one that I have already read, and honestly, glorious. Just putting it out there, I really liked it. So Someday Maybe is the book that is about the British Nigerian woman. Her name is Eve, and I'll just read you a little bit of the blurb and then I will summarise. But it says here are 3 things you should know about my husband. He was a great love of my life despite his penchant for going incommunicado. He was, and as far as I and everyone could tell, perfectly happy. 3, on New Year's Eve he killed himself. And here is 1 thing you should know about me. I found him. Bonus fact, no, I am not okay. So the story is about Eve and her husband Quentin, who, as the book opens up, we know is dead. And like it says there, he killed himself. And it essentially is about her dealing with that grief. She has such a, I would say, turbulent, sort of non-existent relationship with Quentin's mother. Quentin's mother didn't like her. Quentin's mother simply didn't like her because she was black, and also because they came from, I guess they were like upper class or something like that. And Eve's family were, I would say, middle class, but definitely she looks down upon Eve for that. And they met each other at uni and they got married, I think, straight after uni, and they've just been living their life. Quentin was a photographer and Eve did sort of like social media content, sort of writing and things like that. And it essentially is about that grieving process. How does she deal with the mum, like what's happening there, dealing with friends, and also dealing with her family, and at what point do people actually just expect you to get on with your life and stop grieving. So it was a really interesting exploration of grief, especially because of that added complex layer of the fact that he killed himself, and it was just the fact that no one knew he was unhappy. So it's just those people looking at you and thinking, well, how come you didn't know like what was going on? So it's honestly a stunning book. I was just like absolutely blown away by it, and I think it's one of those books as well that really takes its time to like go through the process, so that sometimes you're reading it and you might think, well, this is a bit like repetitive, but it's just like day in day out that would have been her day, like feeling all that grief, feeling the weight of the hours of the day. So I thought it was really well done. And in terms of like something from NetGalley, I can't remember when it publishes, but I will be putting pub dates across the screen. I'm sure it's out now. Yes, it came out last year in October. But yeah, it's definitely one that I would highly recommend picking up. The next book that I requested from NetGalley is one that I just happened to see the cover of and see the name of, and I was like, I am interested in that. And that is What Women Want: Conversations on Desire, Power, Love and Growth by Maxine Mei Fung Chung. So this is actually a short story collection. I honestly can't remember the last time I read a short story collection. Originally when I first read the blurb for this, I was like, oh, is this like a non-fiction title? It's not. She uses the question from Sigmund Freud, which they say his unanswered question, which is, what does a woman want? And she basically explores this through, how many short stories? 7 very different women, I'm assuming then 7 short stories. What actually really got me about this book, and obviously why I kind of thought it was going to be non-fiction, is the fact that it says it's a conversation between Maxine, like based on conversations between Maxine and her patients. So I imagine in some sort of way she's a counsellor, therapist or something like that, and she's just used that to then like create these stories. So I'd be very intrigued to know. It says here that it's like from a young bride to be struggling to accept her sexuality, to a mother grappling with questions of identity and belonging, and a woman learning to heal after years of trauma. What Women Want is an electrifying and deeply intimate exploration of the inner lives of women. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading that one. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of forgot that I had it. Like, it was only when I was like looking it up for this video that I was like, oh yeah, I requested that, so hopefully I get around to that soon. So the next 3 books that I'm going to speak about all have one thing in common, and that is they're about British Ghanaian protagonists. I feel like there's something happening in the waters at the moment, because I just feel like there are a lot of books that are about British Ghanaian people or British Nigerian people, and I'm just like, I'm so here for this. But yeah, a lot of the stuff that I've seen has been about that. So one of the first ones I'm going to start with is Small Joys by Elvin James Mensah. We actually follow each other on Instagram, so I have seen him talking about his book. Like I said, pub dates will be like here, so this book doesn't come out until April, and hopefully I will have read it before then. I'm really trying to keep my fingers crossed that I will have read it before then. This book is definitely giving me like gritty vibes for some reason, and for some reason I thought it was set in the 90s, but it's actually set, it says here, in the mid-noughties. It is about 2 men. So it says here, Harley is a young queer black man struggling to find his way in mid-noughties Britain. He returns home from Dartford, which, well, it doesn't really matter where that is, but it's in England, having just dropped out of an undergraduate course in music journalism. Standing in the local woods one day on the verge of doing something drastic and irreversible, his hand is stayed by a stranger, a tall husky guy who emerges from the bushes holding a pair of binoculars. Muddy is an ebullient, I don't know what that word means, I've never seen that word before, Mancunian whose lust for his own life makes others feel better by association. He's a keen bird watcher, he's a rugby fanatic and an oasis obsessive. He becomes a devoted and loyal friend to Harley, who finds his enthusiasm infectious. In no time they are inseparable. Harley starts to think that life may be worth living after all, while Muddy discovers things about himself that the lads down the rugby club may struggle to understand. Okay. But when figures from the past threaten to plunge Harley back into depths of depression, his only hope of survival is Muddy and the small joys they create together. Oh, this sounds really nice. So I'm actually really looking forward to that, because it's nice to have a book. I assume, I'm going to say friendship for now. I assume perhaps maybe it's going to turn into a bit of a romantic love interest later. Who knows? But yeah, this sounds like a really nice book, and I'm looking forward to it. So the next book is Rootless, and this is by Crystal Zara Appiah. And it is about 2 teenagers who meet in London in the 90s. So it says years later, they first meet in London there, but years later they're married. Their love story couldn't seem more than perfect. Sam wants to start a family. FA wants to be free from children to focus on her dreams. When an unplanned pregnancy forces them to confront their differences, FA and Sam must discover if what they really want is still each other. This, in a way, is giving me the, I would say, Open Water vibes from Caleb Nelson. I'm trying to remember, I don't want to mispronounce it, yeah. It's giving me that, but I don't know that it's going to be as like lyrical and as poetic as that book was. But yeah, I'm intrigued to like read this. It says here, a poignant, heartbreaking debut about a British Ghanaian marriage in crisis. Rootless is a story of friendship, family, societal obligation and motherhood, but above all, it's a love story. I love the sound of this because at least I feel like it's not tackling the whole kind of miscommunication of like dating and like getting to know each other. It's not like a kind of, a romance in that sense, but more a romance from the sense of being married and like going through any of those issues. So that sounds very interesting, especially the fact of like having children and wanting to focus on your career and your partner not being on the same page as you, and perhaps, well, that's great, but also like the woman's the one that's going to be carrying the baby, so... But yeah, so it sounds like a really good read. The final book, which I feel is the one that I've seen around a lot more, is Mammy by Jessica George. So this comes out in 14th of February, okay. So that's in like 2 weeks time from now. Mammy has many and it spells it out like ma-me. Has meanings in Twi, but in my case it means woman. Meet Maddie Wright. All her life she's been told who she is. To her Ghanaian parents, she is Mammy, the one who takes care of her family, her mum's stand-in, the primary carer for her father who suffers from Parkinson's, oh that's really sad, the one who keeps the peace and the secret. It's time for her to speak up. When she finally gets the chance to leave home, Maddie is determined to become the kind of woman she wants to be. One who wears bright yellow suits, dates men who definitely aren't on her mum's list of prospective husbands, and stand-ups to her boss microaggressions. Someone who doesn't have to Google all her life choices. But when tragedy strikes, Maddie is forced to face the risk and reward of putting her heart on the line. Oh, interesting. But will it take losing everything to find her voice? You know, as much as I've had, like, people talk or like seeing the cover of this book and people just, you know, generally it's just like a quote from someone being like, this book is great. I had no idea about like what it really was about. I did know that it was about like a woman and just like her finding her path, but I don't know why. It definitely feels like more coming of age, and I don't think I was really expecting that. I don't know how old she is because it doesn't really say. I want to assume like she's end of her teens, early 20s or something like that, but it doesn't really say, so I don't really know. But yeah, I thought it was more focused on perhaps like not her family, but just her living life on her own terms, which it does sound like she does in the second half, but I didn't really know that the family sort of loyalty stuff was all there and whatnot. But yeah, those are all the books, so I feel like it's definitely a shorter list than last year because I have kept to my word and definitely requested less books. But I'm so excited for the 3 that I just mentioned there, and also for the What Women Want as well. Definitely will be reading The How, because I don't know what's going to happen this year, but I will not be leaving 2023 without having read that book. But yeah, that is all for now. Let me know if you have any of these books on your NetGalley shelf as well, or if you have any books on your NetGalley shelf that have been lingering there for ages and you're just like, I'm going to make it a priority for this year. Definitely let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in another one. Bye.